Is there something we can reduce going diagonally from the 8 to the 38? This direction. They're both even. Yes.
4.
4. Okay, 8 divided by 4 is 2, but does 38 get evenly divided by 4? I can't think of a multiple of 4 that ends on 38. The closest one is 36. So let's try just 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4, and 38 divided by 2 would be... Huh?
No,
I think it would be more than 14.
That's 20.
Could Mrs. Sullivan, Mrs. Noble, Miss Palm, Mrs. Koppel, and Mrs. Houston please meet Mrs. Johnson down in the lounge?
Would it be 19? What about going the opposite direction, diagonally? They have the 9 factor in common, don't they? 9 divides by 9 and I get 1. 9 goes into 27 and I get 3. So now I have 4 times 1 and then 3 times 19. I don't know 3 times 19. Do you think 4 will go into 57? No. I don't think so either. So I believe that should be our answer. Does anybody see any errors?
No.
Just a moment, I need to answer the phone. Okay, I'll send in. You go back. Jason, you need to go. Okay, 457 is what is on my answer key. Let's look at the next one. The first step is to change any mixed numbers into improper fractions. So for 6 and 2/3, 6 times 3 plus 2 more.
20.
20. 6 times 3 is 18 plus 2 more is 20. And then what do I do next? I keep it this way now and I write a multiplication sign instead. I'm changing it. Now I'm going to flip 5, 6 to its reciprocal. Now I can just follow the multiplication rule. 3 and 6 both have the number 3 in common. 3 divides by 3 and you get 1. 3 goes into 6 2 times. 20 and 10 each have the common factor of 5. 20 divided by 5 is 4. So my answer is going to be 8. Okay? Did we need to change anything or simplify anything on that one? No, because we don't have an improper fraction. And even if we did, it still wouldn't be able, we wouldn't be able to simplify it because it would be 8 over 1. Okay? All right, let's erase and move on. Okay, so we were just refreshing our memory on multiplying and dividing fractions on Thursday because we've done a whole unit on multiplying and dividing fractions. Yes.
I couldn't see the 8.
Give me just some time and then I'll get you caught up, okay?
Okay.
All right. So today what we're doing is we're adding and subtracting fractions. And this requires common denominators. This is a quote, and this is a quote from every single math teacher in the universe, not just on our continent, not just in our state, not just on our planet, but every single math teacher says this. Adding and subtracting fractions require common denominators. Okay, that means before you can even imagine starting to add or subtract a fraction together, you must have the same denominator. Okay, you guys have talked about this probably since 3rd or 4th grade. All right, adding fractions cheat sheet. Number 1, check for common denominators. Do I have common denominators up here? No, not so much. So what did I do? I had to find common denominators. If needed, you must rebuild the fractions with common denominators. So I've selected a 2 over here, this form of 1, which is 2 over 2, and I changed that fraction to 8/10, didn't I? I selected 5 over 5, and when I multiplied that to this number, I came up with exactly the same amount. It still means half, but it is the version of half that is 5/10. Now that I've rebuilt those fractions down here, I can move on and add. Okay? And if you look closely, it says, if needed, rebuild the fractions with common denominators. Sometimes we use easiest common denominators, which is just to take the bottom numbers and we just use the same number, but just on opposite fractions to multiply to find the easiest common denominator. And sometimes you might want to use the smallest common denominator, the least common multiple, and that would mean that you're going to find the smallest number those two numbers have factors in common with, okay? So 14 would be the one for that. And it gets kind of hairy when your fractions get bigger, no big deal. Okay? So now I can add straight across now. What is 8 plus 5?
13.
Good. But what does number 4 say? Always keep that same denominator. It's not so with multiplying fractions, is it? But when you're adding and subtracting, you went through all that trouble of finding a common denominator, and you have to keep that same denominator. But if your result ends up improper, we still have to simplify. One group of 10 will fit into 13/10, and then you'd have 3 leftovers, wouldn't you? 3/10 leftovers. So really all you're doing, just like we've always been, to simplify them for proper fractions is divide, because this is just the division problem. Right? 1 3/10. Got it? So let's look at another example. It says 1/2 plus 5/8. Do we have common denominators? Yes or no? No. So I take the 8 from here and I multiply this side, the 1/2 by 8/8. I'm going to multiply 1/2 or 5/8 by 2/2. Okay, so then I get 8/16 on this side, and then I get 10/16 on this side, and my answer is 18/16. 8 plus 10 is 18. But I've marked it wrong. Oh, is it improper?
1 and 2.
Okay. So remember, the top number is always the dividend. The bottom number always is the divisor. So in this case, I have more than I need, more than enough for 1 to go in there. And I have 2/16 left. Is that the right answer?
No.
Why not?
You can do it by simplifying.
I can. Both 16 and 2 have the number 2 in common. They're a factor of 2 that they have in common. So what is 2 divided by 2?
1.
What is 16 divided by 2?
8.
Okay, now I have the right answer, don't I? Okay, 1 and 1, 8. Now I'm not just standing here drawing on my smartboard for you guys to not pick up your pencils and follow along. I'm going to give you a moment to write all of this down. I wasn't so good about that on the last screen, and I apologize. Make sure you have all of these steps written down for this, even though they have most of them already written. Did someone have a question? Hey. So we're going to go ahead and move to the next slide. And the next slide is the last one we'll talk about in this set of papers today. So we've got one more slide on here to do, and then we'll talk about our homework assignment. Okay. I think everybody's pencils are done here, right? Okay. I'm going to ask another teacher to see what the message is for me so that I can just move on. All right, 1/3. I just forgot something here, didn't I? I want to add those. So 1/3 and 1/4. I can't add them together because they don't have common denominators. Okay, so on this side, I'm going to take this denominator. I'm going to change it to the form of 1, that is 4/4. On this side, I'm going to take this denominator, 3/3, which really just means 1 as well. Then I'm going to redo these fractions. 4 times 1 is?
4.
4 times 3 is?
12.
Good. 1 times 3?
3.
4 times 3?
12.
Now, 4 plus 3?
7. 12.
12 plus 12?
24.
Nope.
No.
Nobody's catching that?
No, you have to keep the
I have to keep that same denominator. Ladies and gentlemen, it's super uber important to remember that rule. I find most often students forget that rule the most. Okay? So you went through all that work to find these common denominators, so you've got to keep it. Okay? You can't add those denominators together. You completely change the meaning of the fraction then. Okay?
Oh,
All right. So we're still writing, all right. All right, on this next one, the one directly below it, 2/3 and 3/8. I'm going to steal the thirds here. I'm going to multiply these guys by thirds. I'm going to multiply these guys by 8. Okay, 8 times 2, everybody?
16.
8 times 3.
24.
And we're adding. Okay. 1 times 3.
3.
8 times 3.
24.
16 plus 3.
19.
Can I simplify 19/24? No, 19 is a prime number. So that is my final result for that one. So in that case, we can have a denominator of 24 because we got the denominator of 24 when we found our least common denominator. Okay. Now let's move on. If your pencils are done. On this one, I'm going to steal the 7. I'm going to make 7/7 on this side. I'll steal the 9. I'll make 9/9 on this side. 7 times 2.
14.
9 times 7.
63.
It's a big denominator, isn't it? Oops, why did I put 16? Should be 63 as well, because 9 times 7 here should also be 63. What's 1 times 9?
9.
14 plus 9.
23. 63.
Okay, 23 is prime, and it will not go into 63 evenly. So even though 63 isn't prime, it can only be divided by 3, but 23 cannot. 2 plus 3 equals 5. Okay, and so this is where we're going to end for today. And then I'll show you what your homework assignment looks like. And if the teachers want to, they can pass those out.
One letter.
Want me to erase that? Okay, I'll erase that.
Okay, I am still unmuted, so we should be quiet. Okay. All right, this week is all worksheets. Sorry about that. There are no book assignments about this. Okay, so I'm just going to open Sophie's. I believe it should look just like this. Okay. So the front side just has simple fractions added together, and notice, I don't think any of them have common denominators, do they? Okay, so we have some common denominators to find on each of these. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Right. All right. Okay, let's do one of the front questions together. I think that there should be plenty of room if you write nice and small to put all of your work right here on the paper, so that you shouldn't have to staple anything to this. Okay. If you're at home, I have assigned this to our color group. You should be able to open it as a CAMI document and then go ahead and write the answers right on top of it. Okay, if you're not seeing this and you're at home, if you're not seeing this as a homework assignment, then you need to call me or send me a message or type me an email of some sort. Okay, so I'm still pretty new at all this. I think I'm going to pick number 8 as my first question. Okay, when I look at number 8, I don't have common denominators, so I'm going to find common denominators. Okay, I'm going to take 3/7, and to that I'm going to multiply 8/8. Okay, then I'm going to take 6/8, and to that I'm going to multiply 7/7. Okay, here's one thing I want you guys to think about. In this, I have purposely put a multiplication sign here, and then I purposely put parentheses here. Those two symbols mean the same thing. And when I'm finding common denominators, a lot of times I'm just going to use those parentheses so that I don't get that multiplication sign mixed up as a number. Okay? So you get to choose what you want to do, but that's what I'm going to do. Okay? So if you see a set of parentheses instead of a multiplication sign, you'll know what Mrs. Frandsen means. A lot of mathematicians do this. Okay? 8 times 3, everybody?
24.
8 times 7.
56.
Thank you, Rebecca. 6 times 7, Rebecca.
42.
And we must get that same exact number on our denominator. So let's take 24 and add it to 42. Yes.
It is 88 or 56, I think.
I think 4 plus 2 is 6.
Ah,
And then
just
4 plus 2 is also 6.
66.
So I want to say it's 66 over 56.
Got a little confused there.
Is it improper?
Yeah.
Yeah. How many sets of 56 will go into 66? One whole set. One set of 56 will go into 66, and I believe we'll have 10 56 leftovers. Okay, but let's check. All right, we're done.
Yeah.
But you'll get it marked wrong. Why? It's not simplified. Both of those numbers have a common factor of 2. Okay? And 10 can be divided by 2 and you get, oops, I meant to write 5. You get 5. What was the other number, 56? What do you get when you divide 56 in half? Okay. So if your answer looks like that on your paper, do you suppose I'm going to mark it wrong? Nope, I'm not gonna mark it wrong if it looks like what we did, where we showed all our work. But if it looks just like this, and nothing else is showing on another piece of paper, it will be marked wrong, because I wanna see all of your mathematical thinking, okay? Yeah, the question that you did, you can leave your mathematical thinking right on the page, and you'll still get it right. As long as all of your work is showing yes, some of us can do all of this in our heads, okay? Most of us can. Well, maybe not most of us, but neither here nor there. That's what our work should look like for each question. You should show your answers like that. Okay? And of course, there's a backside on this paper. And of course, just to challenge some of us who this is really easy for some of us, I wanted to make a fun activity that I've been seeing on the Dorky Teacher YouTube video that I like to watch. So you must go ahead and just suffer through this for a moment. Yeah. Okay. Let me show you the other activity that we will be doing. Okay, I'm thinking that it would be in a different spot. So if you guys go to your classrooms and you open up the color group that you live in for your assignments for math. So we're in the pink group, right? Mrs. Franzen's pink group. Right here. Okay. So under here, I've created this activity. One student has already done it. It's called the extra practice, right? So this is the extra practice activity that I want you to try. Okay. I deleted it because I had only created one copy. I didn't create a copy for each student to do, and so hers showed on everybody's. Okay. Right here. It's called extra practice, and of course this one's already done. It's not supposed to be. Ooh. And I reassigned it and everything, and it still is showing. I'm so disappointed. Oh, now it's blank. So when you're done putting the answers in, you already know what it's going to look like. I'm sorry. I will make sure so that when I put tomorrow's in, it doesn't do that. Okay, now, is my answer to number 8 going to be 1 and 5/28? No, because in the directions it tells you, use your answers from Monday, December 7th to fill out the answers for this puzzle. It will reveal a Christmas picture. Our answer has to be as a decimal number. So we can write 1 point, but what would 5/28 be? No. We need to divide 5/28 to find the decimal value of that fraction. So what you can do on this one, there's nowhere to show your work. So I do not mind if you go ahead and use a calculator on this one. So I'm going to open my calculator, and I'm going to find out what the fraction value 5 divided by 28 is. Now, I have to round it to the nearest thousandths. So it's going to be 1.179. Why is it 1.179? Well, because the number that was following that 8 was bigger than 5, wasn't it? And then when you hit enter, part of the puzzle shows up for you. Okay, so you'll do that with all of the questions. You change your answer from a fraction into a decimal. Does anybody have number 1 answered yet? What do you have, Miss Schieber? 1 1/2. Very good. It needs to be written as 1.500. It needs to be written as a decimal to the thousandths place. So you might have to round You might not. Okay, so for every question you put in, you get a little bit more of that puzzle revealed, which we all know is a minion because Mrs. Franzen flubbed up when she assigned it the first time. So for tomorrow's when I'm finished creating that, and it took me a long time to create these puzzles, like Mr. Franzen's mad at me because Sunday I spent like 6 hours playing with this. Yeah, I'm a dork. Sorry. Okay, so that is the extra practice you can do, and you can submit that right there in Google Classroom if you wouldn't mind. And those will be up there until the end of the week if you want to have some extra credit. Okay. Questions on your homework? The worksheet is due tomorrow. It's mandatory. The extra practice is extra credit. Yes,
On the minion,
on the minion thing.
what happens if you were to type an answer and that was wrong?
If you type in answers that are wrong for the minion thing, did I already close it?
Oh, wait, Sophie, wait, right there, tap that.
No, it's not that one. Okay, if you type the wrong answer in, you won't see any of those little squares appear with color in them. So if you get one wrong, then nothing happens on the picture. So if you're wondering if you got it right, then you'll have to watch and see if any more of the little squares appeared when you type that in and hit enter. Okay? Unless I goofed up when I was making it. The programming of that particular thing is kind of intense, and I had to watch a YouTube tutorial video like 9 times, and then I started the project, and then like I watched the same like 30 seconds of that same tutorial video over and over and over again, and my husband, like I said, he was really tired of listening to that and seeing me on my laptop all day yesterday. I was. The Wi-Fi is probably on fire at my house. Okay, so that's all I have for you guys today. If there's any questions, you can ask them. If not, I'm hanging up.